We're going to talk to Jim right now about whether or not drug tests are causing trouble in the workplace. Jim Whiddon is standing by. Jim, hi. Welcome to the program, sir.
Yeah, good to be with you, Pat. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Jim has heard a lot of places. I've heard him on Fortune, Wall Street Journal, CNBC, and he's out with his new book, his fourth book, The Old School Advantage. This is a book that gives you edge, whether we're talking about careers, but also a lot of other things in life. And Jim, just so you know, we'll make sure that we link everybody to the oldschooladvantage.com so people can find your book. So are we in big trouble here, Jim? Because, first of all, is it true that there's some squeezing that's going on some employers because of changes in immigration?
Well, it's a big question. Are we in trouble here? Yeah, I think we're in trouble in lots of places. But one of the headline mantras, I guess, of the old school advantage is that every challenge is going to provide us with an equal or greater opportunity. So we just, we need to noodle this one because there are some changing mores in our culture, and there are some challenges that maybe generation past have not seen, or at least they haven't seen them to this degree. So certainly immigration can be one of the areas that puts pressure on employers. It's a good problem to have, I suppose, to have somewhat full employment, but that does make it difficult for employers, as is the premise of this segment. So, yeah, we've got a big problem, but I think we just have to figure out the solutions, and I think that's possible.
Well, a word that's been in the news a lot lately in this area of the country as well as coast to coast is the word opioid, and it's rearing its ugly head in a lot of places. And I read in a recent article that the opioid problem, abuse of opioids, costing the economy over $78 billion. That's no small amount of money there. And another problem on top of it is, just like immigration is causing some waves, Jim, drug testing is causing some waves. Are there going to be some employers that, if they can, they actually may try to look the other way and either not do drug testing or try to limit what happens as the result of drug testing so that they can keep things going out there on the line?
Well, I think there are certainly already those that are looking the other way. Obviously, that's always going to happen. But, the unintended consequences of some of the issues that we're facing as a nation, and you mentioned in particular seems like in the Midwest, the opioid crisis is hitting really hard. Mm-hmm. Higher health insurance costs, safety issues or concerns on the line, as you mentioned. Wow, that is really scary to think about. And then just the motivation factor. I mean, when you have employees that are affected by chemicals that they're injecting into their body for pain relief or for recreation, whatever it might be, there are some serious unintended consequences that may come from this. And so that's what employers, as I mentioned, they're having to deal with this maybe to a much greater degree. So will some look the other way? Yes. But, I mean, they may be tripping over dollars to pick up nickels because you have a big accident on a manufacturing line, and you might cost some people their lives, not just, in the name of filling some positions that you're having difficulty with.
Yeah. Even Janet Yellen and the people at the feds, I hadn't heard this discussed for a long time, but they made reference to the Beige Book, which is a way to look at economic activity from around the country. And over the course of the last quarter, there's an inability, according to them, for employers to even find workers to pass drug screenings. Because what's happening here, Jim, is this true that you get some applicants that the drug screening eliminates them, and you get some people that won't even apply when they find out there's going to be drug screening involved?
Well, I think so. I mean, nobody wants that on their record, so to speak. And so if they know there's an issue, they'll wait until they can get in a better position, or maybe until they can get some additional help to get through some of those personal issues as drug dependency. Again, this is the unintended economic consequences of individual decisions. I mean, I think what we see and what we help employers across the country with is there's more character-based considerations now, I think, than there have been in the past. In other words, they're trying to look at the whole person in the interview process and in, as you mentioned, the testing process, mm-hmm. not just drug testing, but testing for the position, whether it's a computerized test or whatever it might be. but also asking questions that may indicate to some degree what is the character of this person, because there are those that abuse these substances simply out of, they just shouldn't be doing it. I mean, they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. We've all done things we shouldn't do. We haven't all done drugs, but this is kind of the human condition. This is the issue that we're dealing with. And so character-based interviewing and filters are becoming more and more important, recruiting that whole person, which, to your point and to the article's point, is reducing the number of qualified candidates. I think there's a silver lining. I think this means that they're recruiting people that can pass drug tests that don't have the experience. Now, that's also costly, because you'd rather bring somebody in and not have to train them and not have to spend that money. But here's where I think the silver lining and the opportunity is. We need to get back, in my opinion, to a nation that provides apprenticeships, not just college educations, everybody's got to get a degree, that kind of thing. Maybe this is the inflection point where manufacturing companies and agricultural companies in particular can say, you know what, let's take some new people in under our wing that don't have experience. Let's train them from the start, and maybe let's get some mentorship programs going and try to improve the overall culture in that way. Meanwhile, let's get some folks some help out there that have these opioid issues and other substance abuse.
For those of us who talk about, let's pick the two issues you and I have discussed more openly today. Illegal immigrants doing certain work in certain industries, farming and other ag-related things come to mind. And then those that would have trouble with drug testing. As people here in the Midwest and some highly conservative individuals would say, we've got to stop illegal immigration. We've got to stop illegal drugs. Should we stand ready to put our money where our mouth is? Because we should also be ready to say, I realize if it's going to cost them more to hire people to pick strawberries, I need to be ready to pay more for my strawberries?
Well, I mean, again, I'm old school, and I think we need to do the right thing regardless of the cost. Now, I know that's a little bit idealistic in the working world. I mean, I think people make decisions based on costs, and some of those cost people in other ways. I think it's always the best policy, to be honest, to let the chips fall and let the free market do what it needs to do to get the pricing right. Does that mean it may cost more for Americans on certain products than it has in the past because they have been using undocumented workers or they've been using folks that can't pass the drug test? Yes, it might. But you know what, Pat, sometimes doing the right thing costs. It costs more.
Yeah.
And so I'm always going to be in the position when I'm advising somebody, look, do the right thing, let the chips fall, because I think a lot of times we don't give other good things an opportunity to happen. We shortcut those things because we do the wrong thing early. Whereas if we do the right thing that might cost us a little more in one area, it might serendipitously help us in another area, and it all comes out in the wash. But I think...
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We lost you there just for a second. Could you just state your last statement there again?
Yeah, what I was going to say is that oftentimes we just won't do the right thing because we're afraid. We try to control things too much.
Yeah.
My theory is, look, if you'll do the right thing, it may cost you in this area. It may cost more to pick strawberries, but you might get a deal with a vendor of strawberries that you wouldn't have otherwise received because they too are an upstanding and honest company. They want to do business right.
It's hard to put a dollar sign on doing right and putting it at the bottom of the ledger, but doing right always seems to even everything out and make it come out right. Well, we've got some breaking news, Jim. We're going to have to run, but we are going to get people connected to your website, theoldschooladvantage.com, and we highly suggest that they get your new book, The Old School Advantage. And for Jim Whiddon, thank you very much for being on our program, sir. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.